The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada now brings you FilipiNARS, news and features about the Filipino-American nursing community and beyond. And now, here's your host, Doris Bauer.
Our listeners and followers, thank you for tuning in to our weekly program. I hope you are all safe and healthy as we enter into phase 2 of reopening our community in this COVID-19 pandemic. FilipiNARS, as you all know, is brought to you by the PNANB, or the Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada, in partnership with PHLB Radio. I am Doris Bauer, your host and current president of PNANB. Okay. Well, I just want to remind everyone that June 9th is primary day in Nevada. And due to COVID-19, we will all be voting by mail. Okay, so voting is really easy. You should have received your ballot in the mail by now, pre-addressed in the envelope that they came in. And if you have not received your ballot, you can call 702-455-8683. Or to learn more about this, please visit www.mailinnevada.com. Your ballot must be postmarked by Election Day, June 9th, and encourage your friends to submit it. So voting is really important. Okay. All right, then. So during these times of the COVID pandemic, the focus has been on healthcare workers, particularly the nurses who are in the front lines. There have been many challenges that our nurses are undergoing in many, many areas. And most nurses belong to a nursing association, such as the PNANB. These nursing associations can help guide their members on how to navigate some of the difficulties that they encounter. One such association here in Nevada is the NNA, which is the Nevada Nurses Association. And today we have invited no other than the president of NNA herself, Dr. Mary Bonmas. Welcome to the program, Dr. Bonmas.
Thank you, Doris. It's great to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. So just to give the listeners something about you, Mary Bonmas is a PhD, an RN, and a CNE, who's a certified nurse educator. She is the president of NNA, and she's also the associate dean of faculty affairs at UNLV. And she earned her bachelor's and master's in nursing from Loyola University in Chicago, right?
That's correct.
And her doctoral degree in the University of Illinois at Chicago. She has almost 30 years of critical care and emergency nursing experience, has been certified and has practiced as a clinical nurse specialist, and currently a certified nurse educator with more than 15 years in the academic setting. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, but I hope everyone heard that as 15 years, not 50 years.
15, 15. Yes. Okay. You don't look that old. All right. So let's start with these questions. Can you tell us what the NNA is, its missions, and its goals and objectives?
Sure. There's nothing more that I like to talk about than NNA, the Nevada Nurses Association. I've been a member of the association since I came to Nevada in 2001. And longer than that, for over 90 years, NNA has been in Nevada addressing challenges and issues that nurses face in our profession. And we proudly represent the voice of nursing in Nevada. We are an organization of nurses for nurses. There are several specialty organizations, your own for one, and those are also for nurses. We are more generalist as far as that goes, as far as representing nurses. And also we include LPNs. So we are inclusive of staff nurses, nurse educators. We have school nurses, the APRN group, public health nurses. And as I mentioned earlier, just recently, we've invited the LPNs in Nevada to join us at our organization. We try to take a comprehensive and multi-purpose approach to advocating for the needs of our profession. And now together with our parent organization, which is the American Nurses Association, we provide this powerful platform that can support the professional nurses and LPNs in Nevada. Now, you asked about our mission and goals. The actual mission of the NNA is to promote professional nursing through continuing education, community service, nursing leadership, and quite importantly, legislative activities to advocate for improved health and for high quality health care for citizens of Nevada. And by the way, I already voted. Just the other day, I mailed in my ballot.
Yeah, I did.
And
too.
I encourage everyone, that's part of our voice, is that vote. So whatever your party, whatever your stance, just make it known through your right of voting. Now,
and I agree with that. With healthcare comes civic engagement as well. So that's
absolutely, there are responsibilities to our profession, and most of us take them very, very seriously. We have some goals for the organization, and one is to promote and to uphold excellence and integrity of the actual profession of nursing. And also, a goal is to educate and advocate for accessible, affordable, quality healthcare for not only for our patients, but for consumers in general. And also, one of our goals is to monitor the evolving role of the professional nurse and to be on the legislative cutting edge, hopefully, to make sure we know of any legislation that will affect our practice.
Absolutely. And we are definitely evolving our profession is. So, right.
That's correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we, for many, many years, have been the most trusted profession, specifically for our ethics and our calling in general. But now in the year of the nurse and the midwife, we are incredibly in the forefront of the respected professions, along with all the others that have stepped forward and worked on the front lines during the epidemic.
Right. Definitely. So you mentioned a little bit about qualifying the LPNs. Now, how do you actually qualify to become a member of the NNA?
Oh, that's a good question. And you're not going to find it easier than this. To join NNA, you need to be a nurse or you care to advocate for nurses. So even a non-nurse could join. And as long as you pay the membership dues, which there are two different tiers. You could join as a state-only member of the Nevada Nurses Association in itself. And the fee is relatively low. I believe it's about $110 per year. And or you could join the American Nurses Association, which is a larger organization of nurses all over the entire country, and their main focus, along with education and advocacy for patients and consumers, is also to legislate in Washington. So they're watching the national and federal regulations for nursing and our profession. And here in Nevada, we watch at the local level or at the state level and local level also. So in the communities where we live and in our state capital also.
Okay, so that is then the relationship between NNA and ANA, the American Nurses Association.
That's correct.
That the American Association or the National Association goes to the NNA, the state members, correct?
Correct. And each state has a vote in the assembly, which will be happening this month. Actually, we had planned to go to Washington, D.C., but now it'll be done over Zoom, as just about every other meeting of organizations that are going on right now. And we'll see on bylaws and some legislative platforms that are proposed at the national level. And then we bring that home to inform our constituents here in the state.
Okay. All right. So aside from knowledge of the different things that you're doing, what are the other benefits of becoming an NNA member?
Well, I like to think of the primary, as an educator, I like to always think along those terms, but we have a lot of free CEs, and we're in the process of building an even larger curriculum, if you will, of continuing education for nurses. What we want to have is affordable, by that I mean free for NNA members. We're thinking and in the planning stages of developing associate members, which would be like the Philippine Nurses Association, Hispanic Nurses Association, Nevada Black Nurses Association, to bring them all in as associate members. And that's twofold, so that they could share in some of the benefits. So they would be able to have the free CEs also. And then they would also give us a larger platform when we legislate. So if there is a common nursing issue, one I can think of course, is the nurse compact licensure, or some other issue. Just recently, there was an issue with the veterinary techs using the term veterinary nurses.
Oh.
So I know it was just our legislator. We have two lobbyists that are very, very active in the legislature and keep us informed. I would have had no idea this was going on without our lobbyists. And they came to us and they're like, what is your position? And right away, we're like, our title of nurse is protected by the legislative and our Nurse Practice Act. And had we not known about this, we would have no way of stopping a group from representing themselves as veterinary nurses. Now, I'm sure there are many nurses that would love to deal with veterinarians and animal rights, but the term nurse is a protected term. And that's just one example. And then we have other legislative activities. So back to the benefits, the continuing education. We also have several insurance plans, professional liability insurance, long-term care insurance, that some of our sponsors have made special rates for NNA members. And that information is on our website, of course. And then, as I just started mentioning, the legislation and our legislative voice in Carson City is another benefit. So if there is an issue, and we all kind of have one central issue right now with the pandemic, and to provide care and to carry out our nursing responsibilities during this pandemic, that's something that our legislators our lobbyists are involved in at the legislature.
Right, that's great. Well, I'm looking forward to maybe the PNANB becoming an associate member. That would be great. That'd be wonderful. We do give out some CEs to our members, and hopefully we can collaborate. Okay, so how has COVID changed nursing here in Nevada in terms of maybe coverage and patient care? Do you have an input on that? Or
I do. I hear from nurses primarily in the Las Vegas area, because that's where I am. But we also, through our website and through our members in the North, hear a lot from nurses regarding what's going on, et cetera. And additionally, I have been volunteering my time for the last 2 months at the University Medical Center here as a screener at the door. So there's a lot of opportunity to engage with the nurses that are indeed doing and delivering patient care during the pandemic. And so aside from, I mean, we've always been this respected profession, but it's every nurse in the country has been elevated because of the work we do. We've always known of our importance, but now it's like we're every other word on a CNN or a newscast, and the nurses, because that's what we do. And it's very, very important. So it does put us in the spotlight, but it also puts us at risk because, again, no matter if you're the screener at the front door or you're going into your grocery store, the pandemic has caused us all to be at risk. And as nurses, we can be the resource for our neighbors and our family and our friends, tell them how to protect themselves and how to not spread the pandemic any further, and to do away with some of the myths that are out there. Obviously, we're not going to drink Clorox or anything anything so crazy as have been proposed, but to make sure that our clients, our patients, our neighbors, and even our fellow nurses have the correct information regarding
Correct.
the pandemic. So we
Yeah.
look a little bit different. And now that everyone looks a little different and our normal has changed, the one of the biggest things I constantly think of, and I'm sure you were educated, the surgical mask, it's a one-time use. The gown, one time, come out of the patient's room and it's into the biohazard, and that's it.
Mhm.
Now we've learned to adapt. We've learned to use the evidence to know that if you're careful with a mask, as long as it's not outwardly soiled, it can be stored overnight in a couple of days in a paper bag. So we are adapting. So we've always been adaptable, but we're doing it big time now.
Yeah, that's great. And this is actually the purpose, the goal of this podcast is to create awareness, much so now in this times, pandemic times. So I'm so glad you were able to come here. Well, you did say you hear from the nurses. Are there any concerns that you have heard besides what you had mentioned, regarding the PNA? Maybe from a practice standpoint from these nurses regarding the pandemic?
We have. We at the beginning in early April, well, we know it started before that, but when it was really brought to our attention at the end of March, when the governor stepped in and created the state of emergency, rightly so, the concerns were different than they were now. So early on, the American Nurses Association had sent out surveys. We wanted to hear nurses on the ground, what's going on. We need to bring this to the attention of those that can make differences in logistics and institutions. So ANA sent out the survey, but NNA sent out a survey also. And we wanted to know, aside from the Serve Nevada or the Nevada Serve, the medical corps that we have statewide, is anyone interested, especially retired nurses or nurses that are perhaps laid off during the pandemic because they're in an office and can't go in, or they're working from home, or they have time? So we sent out our own survey, first of all, asking where people were working, how was the pandemic affecting them? And this is, again, early on. And the concerns at that time were PPE, even mask, surgical mask, N95s, all kinds of PPE were the major concern. And we asked the question of preparedness, and people said, yeah, we were prepared, but the plan just, everything hit so fast that plans weren't working as well as they could have been. Anyway, that has changed. So now there are still hospitals, at least in Southern Nevada, that nurses tell me, this is all just anecdotal, but nurses tell me we still don't have sufficient PPE. Now, again, my own personal experience is only at UMC, and what I've seen there is now we have enough. We don't ask people to reuse the surgical mask unless they want to. And we can conserve and do so safely. But I have heard, and quite sadly, that there are hospitals in Southern Nevada that are still having issues with having protective devices and protective equipment for their nurses.
Well, I tell you from a personal standpoint, we had a Filipino American project called the Bayanihan Project, and it's helping out the people. That project has ended already because of the funding, but it's helping the people who have been affected by COVID, like being furloughed or whatnot, giving them food and whatever help they need. And I was part of the Frontliners Committee, and our goal was to provide for meals, masks, and face shields, to the frontliners. And we have had, as we could not provide for the N95 mask. What they were asking for was the cloth masks that they would give to the other staff who were not actively in the COVID unit. So let me tell you that we had donated masks and homemade face shields, homemade, with the transparency and things that we made, to about 9 hospitals and about 4 transitional care facilities in the Valley. So now that the funding has now dried out, we are, as an organization, going to take that on, the masks and the face shields. So
I cannot applaud you enough. That is grassroots. That is nurses helping out tremendously in this type of a situation that we find ourselves. And that was one of the other things we asked in our survey was, who's willing to help, again, retired or furloughed or what have you. And we had over 1,600 responses just within a day or two of sending out the survey, and well over 400 people willing to volunteer. So what NNA did is, as requests came into us, we sent names, and we told the people that volunteer, we'll send your name and we'll step out of the process. You say, yes, you can do something, or yes, you can't. And we had everything from helping with the homeless over at Cashman Field to actually some of the nursing homes requiring help, even at just screening. And that's how I got involved with screening also. Now some of the requests are contact tracers. And there's a wonderful course out of Northern Nevada. It takes about 20 hours or so, but to give you a background, if needed, for contact tracing. This is a skill that public health nurses have known for years, but myself as a critical care nurse, I knew nothing about it. So I wanted to take the courses. Most of the education that's offered around COVID is free, and it's very informative. Even when you think you know it all and you've got the acronym down, there is so much more to learn.
There's so much more to know. I mean, on a daily basis, things change every day, but yeah, the PPE is indeed one of the biggest issues here. Even if they say that with the nursing homes, they have to contact CMS, Centers for Medicare, they still are not afforded enough to protect themselves. And now we see the COVID patients going from the acute care setting into the skilled nursing facilities, and that is honestly another big challenge. So.
Obviously, and some of the nursing homes are not wanting to take back the patients as they get released from the hospital. So the issue just keeps ballooning, but the nursing home issue, not only in Nevada, but across the country, and I imagine the world, is really horrendous. The way our most frail, and having already contributed all their life to society, that they are at the most risk. And then we have the providers there not able to protect themselves or their patients. It's really quite a horrendous situation.
Yeah. Well, that's another big topic in itself, but all right. Well, I'm glad, that as nurses, we are, if you need something, ask a nurse, right? If you need something done, ask a busy nurse.
Yes.
Anyway, okay. So does the NNA have any resources available to the nurses to help during this COVID pandemic? For instance, and how is it disseminated to the members and the non-members? For example, financial difficulty, handling stress issues, and other problems that have come about with this pandemic.
Well, we don't have a lot of financial aid because we're not we're financially stable, but we are the major financial support we do provide as an organization is for scholarships through our autonomous arm, the Nevada Nurses Association. I'm sorry, the Nevada Nurses Foundation. They're going to kill me if they hear that. That blooper. That is an autonomous arm of nurses providing scholarships. So we haven't done any drives such as you have, but some of our members have, and we've published on our website a number of resources where people can go, some mental health. It's under the resource tab on our website, which is nvnurses.org. As far as some free courses, there is one course that's very comprehensive, and it's $10, and it's not, the money doesn't come to us. It's an administrative cost for the publication of the course. But aside from that, the resources that we have, the kind of doing that little database of volunteers, and we're seeing the students participate in many activities. And the students are hit quite hard also. Yeah. So the students are able to be NNA members, and they are members of the Student Nurse Organization, which is a branch of the American Nurse Organization. So they're automatically our members. And we're trying to mentor newly graduated nurses to come into the leadership positions in our organizations.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All good stuff. Okay, so just recently I attended a webinar which you guys sponsored, the NNA, and the guest was the Nevada Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. Can you share some of the items that were covered in the webinar with regards to assistance to healthcare workers in this COVID pandemic?
Right, and that was a delightful conversation. Our senator is truly advocating for Nevada citizens in Washington, D.C. Some of the questions that came up were how much funds, what kind of funds are coming to Nevada, and how will they be affecting nurses and our patients? And so the senator explained some of the proportions of the bills and how it is disseminated across the country. But Nevada is receiving a fair share. Whether or not we see it directly at our bedside I'm not sure. But of course, the state has been drained so financial because of the resources and the lack of revenue from our number one industry of gaming, that we're going to see a lot more crunching of numbers and budgeting issues as we go along. But we were assured that funds were coming here. And other questions were asked about supporting nursing education as far as nurse repayment loans. And I believe one of the senator's staff had pulled out some stats that said some of the legislation that's out there, because sometimes it seems like our funds, any repayment on higher and more advanced education is dwindling, something fierce, one of the first things to get cut. So that was interesting. And we talked with her a little bit about the nursing compact licensure and asked about her support. And of course, her purview is at the national level. However, she did say she is firmly in support of the reciprocity that can be exchanged between our sister states and surrounding states for nurses to be involved in the nurse compact licensure, which is going to come up during the 2021 legislature in June in Carson City. So we're starting the work on that now, but and we'll be reaching out for her. And the other thing that particularly impressed me, again, in addition to her knowing all the facts of what is coming to Nevada, was her sincere interest in nurses and in the pipeline of nurses and the education of nurses. And she did ask that anyone who would like to share their stories and their experiences with her, or to reach out for her to advocate for a cause, for them to go to her website and to post messages there. So she was very cordial and really seemed genuinely interested in nursing issues.
Yeah, she's always been very supportive to our association and to nurses. So I was really impressed. So great. Okay, so you did mention one of the legislations that you are actively supporting at the NNA would be the compact licensure, which I do support that as well. What are there any other legislations that you are involved in or that you guys support?
As the issues come up, our lobbyists, we have a legislative committee that meets either during the legislative session. We meet weekly, and the lobbyists go through all the bills that are being proposed, and it's amazing how other issues get attached to bills that might chip away at our profession. So it's really important that our lobbyists go through these. But the
Yeah.
legislative committee meets frequently, and there is an APRN issue coming up. I think it has come up in the past also, and there are some telemedicine bills coming up that there's nothing. There is a special session, I believe, in July, but I don't think these issues will come up. These will be all in 2021. So we are constantly watching. So other than the compact licensure, right at this very moment, is we're actively promoting and supporting. The other ones are kind of bubbling up, and we'll be aware of those from our lobbyist.
Well, that's good that you mentioned that. I do know that a while ago, one of the issues of the APRNs being practicing by themselves was in telemedicine, which has come up, especially in this pandemic. And so one of the things that was brought to us when we talked about telehealth was the scope, like the geographical area where an APRN can practice. So hopefully they will address that as well.
Right. Now, the nursing compact licensure, or the NCL, is specific to RNs. However, there is a compact out there. It's much less states. There's like 34 states that are compact states as it is. But the APRNs, I think we're going to see that in the future for just what that issue that you brought up in telehealth, where you may have a patient in a different state. But they're calling into you, that whether they're using just voice or they're using video, etc. And that does present issues for licensure. Yeah. So the APRNs have a compact, not in this state, but there is such an animal out there, which I'm hoping will grow. And as that issue comes into Nevada, we will actively lobby for that also.
Awesome. Okay. So let's switch gears a little bit, and let's hone in on you as an educator. As an educator and dean of the Faculty of Faculty Affairs at UNLV, can you tell us how COVID has changed the way the class structure and the education for nursing studies? And will these changes, do you think that they will carry over as the pandemic subsides? Hopefully it will subside.
Those are a cluster of wonderful questions. Early on, as soon as the governor, this is for UNLV, but I have a feeling all my nurse colleague educators were doing something very similar, because we had no choice. We needed to adapt, but yet we needed to get our students out into the pipeline. So we couldn't just say, well, we'll put off all the education while the pandemic is in effect. We don't have that choice. And plus, the governor was especially concerned that we continue to fill the pipeline of nurses through our nursing schools.
Right.
At UNLV, it was instantaneous. Now, all of our graduate programs were already online, and the majority of our faculty teach in both undergraduate and graduate. So at UNLV anyway, we were quite proficient in online education. We have the platform and the resources. But our undergraduates, while there are a few online courses, our pharmacology is online and our evidence course is online for the undergraduates. Undergraduates are used to sitting in the classroom, listening to that traditional lecture or doing a flipped classroom or something like this. And this hit them very hard, because in a matter of a few days, we said we're going totally remote. All classes are going to continue. And for clinicals, clinicals are just like essential for a nursing student.
Right.
We're going to be innovative. We were going to use vSIMs and make realistic situations. And then as soon as we could get back into our sim center, we were able to do that with social distancing, extremely small groups. At that time, it was 10. Now they're moving the numbers up as the phases increase. But I'm sure the rest of the nursing education community, at least
Mhm.
in southern and northern Nevada, from my colleagues up there, were able to do this like overnight, putting everything online. The
That's-
Zoom has, and we haven't had one episode of Zoom bombing yet, but um, actually, this summer we've thought we would be able to get back into our clinical sooner. So we decided to front load. So all of the didactic material is now being front loaded. So they're doing that now. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, prayers and what have you, that we can get our students into clinical. And this is, I'm speaking for all students, to get them into
Yeah.
clinical around July. So depending on how the road to recovery goes,
Mhm. Mhm.
stays down. I do know that just this last week, deaths were up just a
It's
little bit to 2 a day, where they had been, I believe, at 1 a day in Nevada. So, and with the lag time, it's always, you got to wait 2 weeks to see. You got to wait 2 weeks to see. So we're hoping for the best, but we're planning
yeah.
for the worst.
That's good. That's good. So, do you think this will be the wave of the future for nursing, with the didactic portion at least anyway? The,
It is for graduate nursing. They also already have their licensure. So graduate nursing, and nursing
oh,
has led
okay.
the way a long time with graduate education. Undergraduate, I think more of the didactic, this is just my opinion, will tend to be online or in a
Online,
flipped classroom, but there is no replacing for clinicals.
the clinicals.
Right. We can do a lot
Agree.
of simulation, and simulation has gotten really good since some of the mannequins that you and I might have with
Uh,
Annie, and the mannequins that we had, the breath sounds, the lungs, the heart sounds. They're really incredible what you can do with simulation, where
yeah.
the student is prepared in this safe environment. So I'm not a fan of using simulation for high stakes testing, but I am for safe practice and developing skills and even communication skills. And we've been using a lot of standardized patients, especially for our mental health
Uh-huh.
students in that rotation. So because as you know, mental health in Nevada is a huge problem.
It's a
And
huge
so
problem.
the communication is so critical, as it is in all areas of nursing. Communication with our patients, with other professionals, is very key.
Very keen. Correct. Correct. That's great. Okay. Um, well, and we knew this, and you said this at the beginning of the podcast, that 2020 has been designated by the World Health Organization as the year of the nurse and the midwife, even before this, pandemic started. And of course, Nurses Week has passed, and there have not been any kind of celebrations due to this pandemic. In what ways is the NNA honoring and celebrating nurses? And do you have any suggestions for other nursing organizations to do so?
Okay, I'll start with NNA. And of course, we have a splash on our website because it's really quite a big deal. The year of
Yes.
the nurse. First, it
Yeah.
was Nurses Day, and then it turned into Nurses Week. And now it's the year of the nurse, which is quite incredible and a long time coming for nurses and for midwives.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so we have information there. Our publication, which comes out 4 times a year, the RN Formation, is the next issue is out in July. We've highlighted several nurses, um, people nominated nurses, etc. And so we have a lot of splash, if you will, information in
Great.
our publication. And one suggestion, and we're finding there is a certain amount of fatigue from Zoom, the Zoom fatigue, because we're probably yourself, and I know I'm on Zoom all day long. It's either teaching classes or attending meetings or going to this or doing some personal education or what have you. But what we found is you can do a lot of socializing on Zoom too. So we've
Mhm.
had a happy hour Zoom, we've had a coffee break Zoom, and it's fun. We can't,
It's
be
kind of
seeing
fun.
each
My
other,
daughter
but
told me that hey, I'm going to have a virtual drinking party. I'm like, what?
Absolutely. We did that. We called it Bring Your Own Beverage, and everybody went around and held up their glass and what they were drinking. And
Yeah.
I think two people actually had alcohol. Everyone else was, I got club soda with lime. I was like, me too. And not, so I didn't feel, it was evening. We weren't driving. Like, where could we go? But to still social. So we use the term social distancing, but maybe it should be called physical distancing, because
Hey,
we're
yeah.
not that socially distanced from our colleagues, unless you want to be. But most people are having a new appreciation for even the people that they work with. We
Yeah.
had a show and tell was our last Zoom meeting just last week. And it was a smaller group, but sometimes when we have larger groups, we go into these breakout rooms and we just pick numbers anyway to be creative and to do innovative things. And sometimes the silliness of it can actually be fun. But in this last show and tell that we had, there was about 8 people, and we shared things about ourselves or showed some antiques in our home or what have you that nobody
Nice.
knew about. So, I mean,
Cool.
it was very cool. It almost like it was touching that, wow, I've been with this person in the office for 10 years and I did not know she was a ballroom dancer or what have you.
Oh, that's cool.
It's incredible what you can
Yeah.
learn. And again, we're adapting.
We are adapting. There's actually Zoom prayer meeting groups for praying for the victims of COVID and other things, which is very enlightening, and it gives to the religious component of people. So that's good.
Correct. Because the spiritual impact that this has had on people, the mental health is one thing, but that spiritual, what it has done to our faith and not being able to go to churches
Yeah.
or what have you, is incredible. Incredible to see the Pope doing masses online was like, that was like, yeah, we need that. We need people to be able to, if you can't be there physically, you can be there spiritually and watch it visually.
And with other people too. So
Yeah.
that's good. All righty. We will try to do something from our end. I know we had big things planned for the year of the nurse. We had an educational seminar scheduled for May, but didn't go through. So now we're thinking virtual, and I'm like, I'm not that techie. We're gonna have to do something else. So we had all the speakers all lined up, but so we'll have to see. And that's something that
maybe NNA could help out with some of that. Because again of having been in graduate education also, we could perhaps help with some of the tech things as far as putting on scale down and educational programming and sponsor it together. What
That's
could
cool.
be fun is we could offer food, just show big pictures, and drinks, and we've done that at our cocktail party. I showed a picture, you share your screen, show a picture of paper plates and silverware and napkins. Okay, help yourself, and move it along that way. But an educational activity online would be great. And then they can help with the CNEs, the contact hours.
Okay.
And, we were kind of tossing the idea of having a town hall that we could invite several people. We would be on the screen, kind of like the Brady Bunch, but with as many nurses as we could fit on, just to see what's going on now. We know what happened early on, because another thing that is happening now is furloughs.
Yes.
Furloughs happened early on, and then people adapted and were doing other sorts of jobs. But now, while the hospitals are all in devastating financial situations, and the state is, and the education, there's going to be furloughs and layoffs. So another time to be boosting each other's mental health up. But this, we need to hear from nurses. So we've been tossing the idea around of doing just that, just a town hall. Bring it up, what you got to say, be respectful, and let's see if maybe one of the organizations has something already. Like you were doing the face mask. I knew nothing about that. You know, in certain
We haven't officially put it out yet. We just decided on it, or we're finishing up the flyer, but we're going to segue into that. We actually, last Sunday, we had a BOD meeting, and so now we're able to gather 10 and above. So we made face shields, we put masks, and we're initially doing the mask to our membership first, but we already have requests from an acute care facility and a couple of nursing homes. So we're working on that. We're working on funding. We do have a little bit of an inventory, and we'll start from there. But I will definitely share it with you guys.
Excellent, excellent. We'd love to participate in any way we can.
Wonderful. Okay, all right. So, community projects. You have anything lined? NNA?
We don't have anything live planned, but we have a couple of initiatives going on. Safe staffing is one initiative that carries over all the time.
Yes.
Even though there's a safe staffing bill, this is still an issue in the facilities. We also have the anti-bullying and incivility initiative that still carries on as far as we were doing in-person in-services across, especially across in the north and scattered throughout the south. But the COVID has postponed now the physical participation. But the other thing that we've been doing on a regular basis is the initiative for Healthy Nurse, Healthy Nation, all about us, and everything from aromatherapies that are going on with patients and how they can be successful with us. Deb McKinney and Michelle over at UMC have a tranquility unit, and they're doing
it's
absolutely fantastic. So
that's
we
awesome.
have some of those community initiatives going on, and of course we strongly support the Nevada Nurses Foundation, and we're hoping to our tea was canceled. We're planning our Shining Star event. We're again planning for as if it's going to happen, but preparing for the worst. But we're tossing around the idea, and it's just starting to brainstorm of perhaps we could do that tea virtually. We have to really we could have our raffles and our entertainment, but normally that's held at the governor's mansion. And we were sold out like before the tickets even were advertised this year. It's such a delightful event. But the people that go to it generally are older, retired nurses, and the venue at the governor's mansion is quite small. There is no way we could social distance inside. And so we looked at outside, and the cost is just unbelievable to rent enough tables to spread us out across the lawns. So we're looking at other avenues. Again, if adaptation is a mark of the nurse, we're really showing that and trying to see what we can do for it, because that also involves the community. Again, all the monies raised from that provide nursing scholarships. So they're not NNA or NNF are not money-making organizations.
Tell me about it. But we have committed to the NNF for a scholarship from the PNAND, and we're going to make it a legacy scholarship. So it's really cool. Because of the pandemic, we haven't really got down to the nitty-gritty of what we have to do. So, but we will be participating, and I'm looking forward to the Shining Stars.
Oh, that's incredible! Thank you so much. I'm sure Dr. Oldwin thanks you also. She is working hard on behalf of scholarships for nurses.
And I. We've talked before this pandemic, so we're good. All right. So, do you have any message to the public?
Well, we're entering a new phase. We'll get through this, and hopefully we'll come out on the other side even better. So the year of the nurse, we celebrate ourselves. We're proud. I'm proud of the way nurses across the globe have responded. And I think we have gotten the accolades we so deserve. I also would like to support and hand off to those lesser people working on the front lines. The person who's cleaning the floor in the hospital is also at risk and coming to work every day and doing their job. So I think if we could collectively support each other, get past some of our past squabbles perhaps, and whatever they be, political or jurisdictional or even territorial, so that we come together more as a community. Right. And do that through our organizations and really find and share true love among ourselves. I think this horrible situation and the numerous deaths and suffering can maybe make us come to a different place and even a better place. So maybe our new normal is a super normal and better than before.
Right. Great. And for your last question, what is your message to our nurses?
Keep on keeping on. Colleagues, you're doing a tremendous job no matter what area of nursing you're in. Our focus is always the patient and the community. So colleagues, just keep the faith, reach out if you need help, give help where you can, and stay the course.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mary, Dr. Von Maas, for coming to our program today. I know, like I said, this is a long time coming. We've tried to collaborate, and hopefully when this pandemic dies down a little bit, we can, do that and go for it full force. So I know these are busy times, and we appreciate that you took your time to talk to us today. So
it has been my pleasure. And I know it's been a long time coming. I don't know how many times I've canceled, but I'm so happy to be here. And I appreciate what you do, especially with your podcast and keeping people informed and letting everyone know what others are doing. So it's wonderful. And I applaud you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Von Maas. And to our nursing listeners, if you have any questions about the NNA, you can call them at 775-2333, correct?
That's correct. Linda Bauman is our stellar nurse, chief executive there, and mans that telephone. And also nvnurses.org is our website. Anybody can go to the website. There's a special membership tab, but everything else is open to the public, and we welcome you to come and browse.
Very good. Okay. So in closing, nursing organizations can be beneficial to all of nurses because they help complete the circle between the clinical practice and the outside factors that influence nursing. You can have someone or an organization that you can belong to. One of these organizations can benefit your clinical skills and also improve both your personal and professional network, and possibly even look into your future career prospects. So thank you again, Dr. Von Maas, for coming to the program. And to the listeners, thank you again for listening and tuning in. This is Doris Bauer, your FilipiNARS host, signing off for now.
The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada has just brought you FilipiNARS, news and features about the Filipino-American nursing community and beyond. Fridays, 7 p.m. on PHLV Radio.